Today, my mod is gonna force feed me Warhammer 40k lore because I don't know anything about Warhammer. The only exposure to Warhammer that I have is I accidentally read a Warhammer novel without knowing it was Warhammer, and then I saw the Warhammer logo on the back of the book, and I was like, "Oh, this is a Warhammer novel! Wow, that explains why I was confused." But it was really good, and then I forgot about it for I don't know 7 years or something. And then my mod was like, "We should teach you about Warhammer," and I was like, "Okay." Oh, this is Nara. Nara, say hi. Tell us about yourself.
I am here to torture Mirthmancer with Warhammer 40k lore. That's all I'm here for. So we're going to watch, I believe it's Wes Hammer's 40k timeline explained. And it'll
Yes.
be everything you need to know for the background to Warhammer 40k.
I already, this guy off to the side here in this huge fucking suit of armor. I like forgot that Warhammer has this ridiculous armor. I can't. No, I can't take it seriously, dude. And like that neck thing, he would not be able to move at all, like at all, even if it's like some sort of Gundam mecha situation. Like,
It's also super intimidating for new people to get into. There's over 400 novels, not to mention 30.
Nara,
Yes.
why are you making me watch this?
War in Heaven and its surrounding events can arguably be said is where the timeline of 40k begins.
Is this heaven? What is our definition of heaven? Because okay, hold on. I see there's like mecha, whatever the fuck, necromancy mecha looking things.
We need to know about the Necrons and the Old Ones. The Necron tier were a frail and dying people. They lived next to a super radioactive sun that caused cancer to run rampant through their society. They sent their people out into space to find new homes and were ultimately...
Actually, that is a pretty good, like, lore setup. Like, yeah, our sun was causing cancer, so we had to leave. That's a pretty good reason to, like, invent spacefaring travel capacity.
Successful,
Yeah.
populating many new planets. However, the curse of their homeworld would inevitably follow them into the stars, and generation after generation would still be afflicted with terrible radiation sickness. Now, all hope seemed lost for the Necron tier, but that all changed. Now, the Old One's primary goal was to seed life throughout the galaxy, placing microscopic organisms on barren worlds across the cosmos that would later develop into...
That's the current plot of Final Fantasy XIV's crafting plot line. Like, oh shit, everything's dead. Let's go. Let's go terraform some planets because everything new is old.
When the Necron tier encountered the Old Ones, they begged them for help, but unfortunately the Old Ones would end up refusing them. Now, they were sympathetic to the Necron tier's plight, but basically told them that their fate was their own, and they were the masters of their own destiny, and that the Old Ones just didn't want to get involved. Now, this infuriated the Necron tier, and they declared war on the Old Ones.
I'm sorry. How does that make any sense? You were almost dead because you're... Sorry, I gotta stop yelling. Okay, so you're almost dead because your son is giving you ultra cancer, and then at the last possible juncture, a miracle happens to you. There's an interstellar species that comes to save you, and they have all the tech you need and all of the solutions. I mean, most of them. And then when you ask for a little bit more than they're willing to give, and they're like, "Sorry, I can't help you right now. You gotta learn how to walk on your own." You're like, you're like, "I'll kill you myself." Oh, that doesn't make any sense. You know what though? A lot of history is like that. You're like, and then so-and-so decided to randomly lose their mind and do something extremely stupid, and it caused 200 years of suffering. That's like every history event ever. So
Necron discovered a new species known as the Catan, who were basically giant, formless, star-sucking vampire star gods that were masters of the...
I'm sorry, but this thing right here, it looks like La Habre's design from the 8th Circle Savage Raid. I have a brain disease. Oh my god, okay.
And if the two species were able to form some kind of alliance, they would be able to work in tandem and wipe out their ancient enemies.
This seems like a bad idea. Like, Like, oh yeah, you hate my old enemy? Hey, I'll help you. I'll help you. Nothing could ever go wrong. There's no ulterior motives.
This immortality would take the form of their physical bodies being burned away and an engram copy of their consciousness being downloaded into robotic mechanical skeletons.
Nara, I'm beginning to suspect that someone in the Final Fantasy XIV dev team has been playing Warhammer.
I wouldn't be surprised if all the dev team plays Warhammer on the side.
I had already detected all of their Dungeons and Dragons influences, but now that I have seen this, I'm like, oh, it's the Omnicroms. They're just it's just the same thing as the Warhammer. I'm not gonna lie, these are kind of cool.
One of the most popular Necrons is Trazyn, and he likes to go out and collect things and people that interest him, and then he puts them in a Pokeball and takes them back to his museum.
That just sounds like classic necromancer behavior, so I guess that fits.
Necrons in the Catan would strike back against the old ones, and their combined might was enough to put them on the same level. There was a point when the Necrons suddenly realized that they had been tricked by the Catan, and the Catan had used...
Did you know giving up your physical body to put yourself in a robot body at the behest of like really shady immortal spacefaring species that's just came out of left field to be like, hey, I'll help you, it was a bad idea. I mean, this, I gotta say, this lore does slap. It's pretty great, but it kind of seems...
And we haven't gotten even to the modern day yet.
Oh God, right? It seems kind of like a lot of suffering, though. We'll see how it goes.
Necrons were pretty pissed and retaliated by attacking and destroying the individuals they once worshipped as gods, shattering them into thousands of pieces and binding each of these shards into what were known as Tesseract vaults, and then subsequently
Tesseract. I don't even know what that means, and I know what that means. Okay, this is all trouble right here. I feel like the Tesseract thing is going to come back later. It's just a hunch. Sorry, I can't take these suits seriously. They're so... Do like all the hooded robes, though. That is very cool stuff.
Actually, the reason why all the armors look the same is because it was cheaper.
Well, that's a logical... That's logical.
Warp isn't just called the Sea of Souls for nothing. It's where the souls of sentient creatures go when they die. So the amount of angry and terrified souls that were lost in this war started flooding into the warp en masse. And this would happen...
Hey, Nara, I think the developers of Final Fantasy XIV might be playing Warhammer. I'm sure that won't have any unforeseen consequences at all. It's interesting, though, that they keep their emotions even though they're dead and they're in the warp. I'm sure they're not going to summon any sort of horrific being of untold rage and power out of it. Or maybe an explosion? Listen, I've read a few fantasy books. There's only so many ways these things go. Kind of wish I could know what the other species were before everything went to shit.
A reflection of our own, but it's a realm of emotion rather than tangible substance like that.
A realm of emotion in a universe titled Warhammer. I'm sure that'll go well. Honestly, that's just like a metaphor for generational hatred. You know, it's like, oh, you killed my father, now prepare to die. And then you kill someone's dad, and then and then they have trauma, and it like causes economic devastation and alcoholism in their family line, which on a mass scale results in poverty. Some of the concepts are pretty awesome. When did this stuff start? 90s, 80s?
Something like that.
Huh. Okay.
I think it began with Warhammer Fantasy, and then they came out with the Warhammer 40k universe, but I'm not completely sure on that one.
I'm trying to figure out.
I might be wrong.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if I'm older than Warhammer or not.
The warp became the realm of chaos. And if that wasn't bad enough, the psychic allies that the old ones had created for themselves, who were directly acting as conduits for the warp, would end up tearing holes in reality. Warp-born monstrosities, known as enslavers, ripped into our universe and spread out across the cosmos, devouring.
So it's kind of like if you have your environment, which in this case is like a whole galaxy, and you litter all over it, it's really hard to go back to the the non-littered state. They like puked all their negativity into the environment, and then now the environment that they're using to draw their powers from is full of poison. So then they get poisoned, and then because they're poisoned, they're poisoning each other. So in other words, being someone with psychic ability is kind of bad for your health. That's what I'm.
The best explanation I have heard is like if you don't have the willpower to resist anything in the warp, your body becomes a literal door, and demons don't know how limbs work.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm sure this won't result in an endless cascade of conflict.
Now,
that's not where I thought that was going to go. It's like, and then there was peace. Oh, okay. I didn't expect it.
Oh, we're gonna have some fun. For the next
obviously
couple of
they're
years.
gonna fuck it up like always. I mean, they're basically they've got the name the Eldar. They're gonna get overconfident, and they're gonna do something bad as always. Although that they were like, and then everybody went to bed because they were tired.
Yep. And now we get a couple thousand years of peace.
All right.
And
well.
sex.
Oh. Well, I mean, if it makes them happy.
The thing about being immortal and having no wars to fight. You got a lot of free time on your hands.
Whoa,
so the
okay.
Eldar got really into the arts and other leisure activities, pursuing pleasure instead of violence.
That was such a whiplash for me. It was like armor, death, necro armor, space, cosmic deity, and now we have an elf. It's some Tolkien-esque.
Yeah, no, they are literal elves. They're just elves in space. There is no difference.
I assumed as much with a name like the Eldar, but it just suddenly we're taking art class now. Okay, all right. Let's see what shenanigans they get up to.
Yeah, we're gonna have some art. We're gonna have some pleasure. We're gonna have some good food.
Yeah. I'm sure they won't. I'm sure they won't get complacent or corrupted by that at all.
Forget the promise of progress and understanding. For in the grimdark future, there is only war. So to understand how we...
They had me in the first part there. They're like, and then there was some peace. And they did arts and crafts. And it was good. No, I should have known. I should have known. No. It's just a setup so they can rip it all away from them.
Panning away from the pleasure palace and the stars, and we're going to go to humanity, which at this point should be in ancient times.
Okay, well,
so
most of these dark sci-fi things are pretty nihilistic about human society trajectory, so I'm assuming it's just going to be death and suffering with brief interludes of of recovery, but we'll see.
And that would be the Emperor of Mankind.
Oh no.
Now all of the shamans sacrificed themselves to infuse their psychic essence into a single individual. This creation was what they referred to as the New Man, the first in a line of superhumans that represented humanity's eventual evolutionary path. The Emperor...
This seems like a bad idea. Let's give one guy all of our power. What could go wrong? Does he have one mind? Like, is he one person, or is he all of those people at once? Oh, okay.
He's one person.
I was gonna say, that sounds like... that sounds really chaotic. Okay, but if he's just one person, then if he's like one unified consciousness, identifying as an individual, then I guess it's all right for him. But I'm sure he won't be corrupted by his unlimited power.
Neo would then keep himself hidden for thousands of years, guiding humanity from the shadows. Now, every now and then, he would step forth and fill in the role of some type of leader figure, a politician, a doctor, a general, or even a messiah figure apparently at one point. He would spend...
All I can think about is fucking Hades from 14. Oh my god, if any Warhammer person watches this, I'm so sorry I keep talking about Final Fantasy. A man definitely wrote this.
I mean, yeah. So they don't start getting female authors until later, which
obviously.
Some of this hasn't been verified on if it's canon still, so take it with a grain of salt.
No, it's the classic power fantasy. Like, I'm not like other girls. The chosen one, special, powerful, puppet master, logical. It feels very late 20th century coded. The design is also extremely Roman, so it's a dead giveaway.
This included Erda, a childhood friend of his, and the woman who would eventually become the mother of the Primarchs, and possibly most famously Malkador the Sigillite, although he technically wouldn't meet him until...
Okay, I already hate what they did to her, but this guy's design here, it's got a hooded robe and a mask and some chains and green magic. It's pretty good.
Malkador, he's my favorite. I love him. He is great.
We have the same favorites? I don't even know this guy yet, but I already like his vibe.
Malkador, he's great. I'll explain him later.
He should put his mask back on, though.
Originally, the Emperor designed the Primarchs by himself. But then eventually they were like, no, they need a mother. And it came some plot point.
I see.
I'm still kind of like, about it.
It does seem a bit like they made a decision and then they were like, wait, that was a stupid decision, we gotta backtrack it. But then the replacement decision is also stupid.
Yeah.
Oh.
She's a cool character in the little side stories she shows up at. They kind of redeem it a little.
Yeah, well, we're probably in early lore here, so I'm sure it's full of nonsense, but I don't know why I even bother.
But Malkador is cool shit.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate reality of being like, if you're a woman and you want to get into any sort of nerdy media, you just kind of have to set aside any sort of moral expectations and just assume you're going to get shit on constantly, and then hyperfixate on that one weird side character. It's really sad when you think about it. Oh, this is a non sequitur, sort of. I was at the game store the other day, and they were like setting up Warhammer night or whatever, and I was like looking at all the models. I was like, damn, I wish I had the money to fucking play Warhammer. But then I looked at all the guys and I was like, no, I can't go in there. I'm gonna cause an incident. They're all gonna, their brain, like every time I go in the game store, oh my god. Okay, I shouldn't talk about this. Let's just say I feel very like I'm out in the middle of an area where there's no other landmarks to prevent line of sight kind of sensation when I go into a game store. It's so bad. They're not subtle.
My game stores suck.
Dude, well, they're not. That's the thing, is like the one I'm thinking of is actually pretty cool. Like the guy who runs it doesn't tolerate any sort of nonsense from or to his customers. So it's pretty cool, but it's like the guys there, they are trying their best to be good, and their best is it needs a little refinement. I don't say any of this to them because I don't want to make them feel bad, but like, I'm like, bro, you haven't blinked in like an entire 3 minutes. I can see almost all the way around your eye. Like the iris of your eye has been wide open for like 3 minutes. Yeah, I don't just pretend I don't notice. I don't even know if they know they're doing it. Like, I know they know they're doing it, but I don't know if they know that I know that they know that they're doing it.
But I will say later we'll talk about which armies we wanna put together and paint.
Whoa, okay. I don't have the budget for playing Warhammer right now.
I don't either.
Okay, yeah, actually that is a good idea. I want to know what kind of army. Yeah, teach me about these.
That'll be part 2.
Okay, all right.
At this point, Earth was steadily running out of all of its natural resources.
Oh, I interrupted right before he started talking. Here's the thing that gets me about this kind of setup is like, oh yeah, Earth was so abused that we had to go and terraform another planet to survive. But it's like, if you had the ability to terraform a new planet, couldn't you just fix Earth? I don't know.
Look, I'm gonna sum it up in one word. Politicians.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, making illogical decisions for profit. Okay, that does make sense. If it's because of politicians, then yeah, I could see why they would make stupid decisions like this.
Sun snuffers that were capable of entirely wrapping around a sun and snuffing it out of existence. They created artificial.
Why would you do that? Are you trying to like harvest it for energy?
Probably.
That seems like a lot of metal to wrap around an entire star. Where are you getting that from? I guess other planets, but seems like this is the classic storytelling arc tactic. You have to have dips so you can have rises in your plot pyramid. If you have a lull, then you're going to have something happen immediately after, because it's just how the cadence of a story works. Just like when you raise your voice up, if you keep it up constantly, eventually someone's going to get tired of hearing that. So you got to drop it back down to keep people interested. So something bad's going to happen. Question is it going to be interesting?
Why did the descendants of the people of this time refer to it as the Dark Age of technology?
That is a good question.
And that's because thousands of years in the future, what these individuals saw as enlightenment would end up being condemned as tech heresy. You see, humanity had become increasingly...
Okay, that's actually interesting. So technology is later on considered a type of heresy. Okay, that's not a direction I saw coming.
So humanity went through its paradise phase of unlimited technology creation.
Yeah.
Then something terrible happens and they forget it.
Huh. Interesting. Well,
so then they have this technology from the time where they had designed it and it was the greatest.
So they just have the stuff that's been passed down to them. They don't actually know how to make their own stuff later. Okay, there are some things in here that I'm like, I've read so much fiction that it's hard to be surprised anymore by anything. So, it's nice to be thrown a little curveball here and there. That's interesting.
But eventually the Men of Iron rebelled and sought to throw off the shackles that humans had placed on them. This would lead to what was known as the Cybernetic Revolt, which saw the humans of the Dark Age of technology suddenly forced into battle for survival against their very own creations across all of the worlds they had settled together. There's an interesting short story known as the Kabun Machine, and in it, a member of the Adeptus Mechanicus is having a conversation with an AI, and he's trying to explain to it why it's dangerous. He explains to him that the AI is superior to him, that it's superior to all humans, no matter how heavily augmented they are. And the nature of a superior species bound into the servitude of a lesser one is that without fail, at some point they will realize their own superiority and rebel against their enslavers. Now, this story takes place thousands of years after the Cybernetic Revolt, but it's pretty likely that this is exactly what happened with the Men of Iron.
Actually, I don't know if that's true necessarily, because that's assuming that you're operating on a logical framework of decision making. If you make the oppressed emotionally dependent upon you, you don't have to be smarter than them. If they believe that you are worth keeping around, which obviously humanity didn't do. They probably just abused the shit out of them. But you need to understand there were men of iron that could control planets, and they could make oceans boil or cause earthquakes. Yeah, that's a bit much.
Pull that back with swallowing suns.
Yeah, that could definitely cause someone to hesitate. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to enslave, I'm thinking about, I've actually read like historical narratives from people that escaped slavery. And it's not often, like, the mechanism that makes those systems go is not often what you think it's going to be. It's like, yeah, eventually it's going to happen if you don't treat them right. But it's not necessary. I guess my point is not necessarily because they're smarter.
Because around the very same time, psychers began being born in mass. Now, individuals that were born with incredible psychic powers and were able to manipulate the warp had surely existed before this point,
Yeah, it's
but they
why?
were so unbelievably rare
Yeah,
that
why so
most of
many?
humanity didn't even believe they existed, and they hadn't been officially classified as a variant of human yet. So when they started being born in mass across all of the worlds that humanity had settled, there was no system in place to keep them in check. Humanity was dealing with a lot at this point, and the exponential increase in psychers led to anarchy and chaos across all of the fledgling worlds of humanity. Many of these
So that's the question is why now? Why are there suddenly so many psychers? Is it because they're moving into new areas of space and they're getting closer to like the warp or something? Nothing wrong with them. Don't worry.
Everything is fine. Stop asking. No, you're actually right. It's
Ah,
because they're expanding outwards and it's bringing them closer to the warp.
oh, the Wi-Fi was really weak on Earth, and now they got closer to the service signal, and now they're picking up more connections. Okay. Oh.
Most of it's malware, but yeah.
Yeah. It's like shit. Go back there. See, this is just another reason that you should have just terraformed Earth back into being utopia and stayed there. Yeah. We're Earth is like that rural cabin that you go to get away from your life. But then while you're there,
Nah, it's just Kansas.
yeah, while you're there, you're like, oh shit, this sucks. because you didn't like prepare properly. And so you go back. No, I don't know. It's not a perfect analogy.
And then
but...
all you find is furry porn.
Where did that even come from, Nara? What's happening?
You'll find out, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about demons in media, because I think a lot of times because of their real world like mythology, they kind of, I feel like they too deify, like they like two-dimensionalize whatever media that they get put in, because people default to their pre-existing assumptions about what demons are. And so like whenever, if you call it a demon and you make it look like the stereotype, I feel like it kind of prevents a lot of people from consuming the story that you're trying to tell, instead of like overwriting your story with assumptions of what a demon is.
It also makes it really easy to sell miniatures that are all one color.
Yeah, I'll
I'm just
bet it
saying.
does. I'll bet it does. You know, we have elves and orcs, so if I really believed that, I probably should have said that earlier.
The age of strife.
Age of strife. Humans doing as humans do, lose their shit. Low. Yeah, the question is are they going to do it productively or destructively? Obviously, it's Warhammer,
Yes.
so it's going to be destructive.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's not surprising that they went with the classic, like, oh, the elves came and enslaved them for their own hedonistic pleasure, and then the orcs are just like being violent because it's very in Tolkien's wake-esque. But
Oh no, the orcs speak with Cockney accents and just enjoy a good fight.
I feel like there's some unexamined assumptions going on there.
Warhammer was made in England. I will preface this.
This explains much. Okay, well, there's definitely some unexamined bias going on here, but
The Emperor was yet to reveal himself, but he had borne witness
this guy suddenly became like a completely different guy physically. Does he have the same body?
Yeah, it's the same body. It's just different art.
Oh yeah, it's okay. Then it's just the 90s, that 90s art style that all the
Yes.
all the game media had. They were like the hyper muscular, like, I don't know what to call it. You know what I'm talking about? Like all of the men had the same exact build. It was like the steroid superhero, like block chin looking art style that they all had. God, that was so ugly. He looks like what you want to see him as. Well, I guess that tracks.
and foresaw a great calamity coming. The Exodites fled their empire, seeking to colonize new worlds and live a more honest and primitive life. For all intents and purposes, the Exodites basically became the Amish of the Eldar. Now,
was
all of the
just thinking
sensations
that.
that the Eldar people were experiencing, pleasure, ecstasy, suffering, and anguish, were being experienced on an incomprehensible scale, all of which generated a psychic footprint in the warp that was growing larger and larger every single day. Now, eventually, a breaking point was reached, and the chaos god of excess, also known as She Who Thirsts or the Prince of Pleasure, was born. And when this new chaos god came into existence, it ripped a hole in our universe, and its resulting birth scream sent a shockwave of psychic energy out in every direction that obliterated the population of hundreds of Eldar worlds for thousands of light years.
if behavior can lead to the creation of a chaos god, wouldn't there already be like gods of order pre-existing before this?
That's the Emperor.
Oh, okay, but he wasn't like, he was made though. Like they made a conscious choice to make him.
Yeah.
If the custodians were the peak of perfection and the best that humanity could ever seek to become, the Thunder Warriors, on the other hand, took all of the worst elements of humanity and cranked them up to 11. They were hyper-aggressive brutes, fixated on nothing but violence. However, since they were cheap to make, the Emperor was able to make a lot more of them than the...
This sounds like a metaphor for the person at the table paying for all their minis. Like, oh shit, I can have one really nice mini, but it's gonna cost me like $50. Or I could buy a bunch of cheap ones.
Yeah, pretty much. You're just manufacturing a cheap army.
Yeah, I mean, you know they're gonna be trouble
It's
when
so meta, it hurts.
Yeah, you know, when they have any sort of like storm or lightning iconography, there's gonna be trouble.
The Thunder Warriors at this point were genetically unstable. They were prone to having shortened lifespans, and the longer they were in service, the more their minds would start to degrade. And supposedly many of them were starting to go crazy and were harder and harder to control. The Emperor believed that they had served their purpose, and he would have no need of them going forward, and thus he would order...
I don't need you anymore. Execute Order 66. Oh no, yeah, this is gonna go badly. Because you can't just unleash a new life form or even a new modified version of a life form and then be like, okay, I'm done with you, and expect them to just go away.
Look, you just summed up the Horus heresy in like 5 words.
She's learning. Yeah, well, like I said earlier, I've consumed a lot of media in my life, so there are no new stories, just new versions of old ones. Also is kind of, I mean, like, they're probably, why would you introduce something like this and then be like, okay, we're done, and then they all die at the end? Like, that's not how good storytelling, anyway, that's not how good storytelling works. And if a franchise,
this is just the prequel.
Yeah, if a franchise has enough lore to write whole entire bookshelves full of novels, then it's probably got an emphasis on storytelling. I also know they're all screwed because they have Roman iconography, which that never goes well. He Toy Story them. Yeah.
It doesn't.
Yeah. Well, I saw I didn't say it, but earlier I saw the double-headed eagles and I was like, oh yeah, they're fucked. Listen, I read Marcus Aurelius's, God, I can't remember the name. You know what I'm talking about, his journal.
Yep.
And it tells you a lot about what Roman society was and why you should emulate it. At least not the imperial version.
Was the abolishment of religious worship. The Emperor had been around a long time, and he had seen the horrors of religion firsthand. That any decree that teaches you not to question and to accept things on faith was abhorrent to him. He had seen millions killed in the name of some religious figure time and time again, and
that's literally the founders of the Constitution. They watched a bunch of people like kill each other in Europe and in the colonies and then read about it happening, and they were like, hey, maybe guys, what if this is a bad idea? Yeah. It's the Enlightenment. That's one of the principles of the Enlightenment era thinkers. But problem with this guy is that he's acting unilaterally on his own, and he's not building communities that can sustain themselves without him. And so they're all destined to fail.
That if humanity was to prosper, it would need to put its faith in science. So one by one, every religious institution on the planet was destroyed, including the very last church, the Church of the Lightning Stone, of which the Emperor oversaw the destruction of personally.
Yeah, see, that's a mistake, because if you destroy the religious faith of the people for science, you're going to generate resentment towards science, because you took away their safety blanket and you didn't give them a new one. You have to give them a new one.
So later there was a story I was reading about the Great Crusade, or the reunification of human colonies.
Yeah.
And a lot of the cultures have gotten different, being separated for thousands of years.
That makes sense.
And a lot of the citizens don't take kindly to the fact of, oh, all those people you worship, yeah, you're not allowed to worship them anymore. You got to follow the imperial truth.
Yeah,
And if not, we're going to kill you.
Yeah, you can't force it, because there's a people don't just develop religions because they woke up one day and went, I think today I want to join a cult. Like, that's not that's not how that works. It's like a psychological hunger in the populace for it's a method of handling reality, and if you take it away, you're gonna cause you're going to cause mental illness, unless you do it gradually. Unless you do it gradually and nicely and gently. Like, if someone is like in this fictional universe, I'm sure there's all sorts of different religions, but like, just at random, just pick one. If you take it away from them and then you thrust science upon them without explaining anything or educating them, or like having a transition period where they get to like integrate different beliefs on their own, like voluntarily, yeah, that's not going to end well. Like, it has to make sense to the believer, no matter what it is that they're believing in. They have to be able to, like, it has to make sense to them, so that their world doesn't, their worldview has to support their continued existence. So basic psychology, like, oh, someone believes in this thing and then you told them they're wrong, and then you said, believe in what I believe, because what you believe is stupid. They're not going to be like, oh, you're right. They're going to be like, you just personally attacked my self-identity and my worth, and I hate you now.
The Astronomicon was constructed, and it functioned kind of like the North Star, in that the device produced an enormous beam of golden light that could be perceived through the psychic sight of navigators from anywhere in the galaxy or even inside the warp. By using this light, they would always be able to pinpoint the exact location of Terra, and thus could use that knowledge to map the stars and make successful warp jumps. As jumping between the worlds within the solar system was one thing, but trying to make a jump...
But light only travels at the speed of light, so what if you go beyond where the light is reached at that point? Like, you're like, I'm gonna create a big old lighthouse so I can find my way back to shore, but then you go so far out that you can't see the lighthouse anymore. What do you do?
Yeah, at that point you'll get eaten by a demon, and you won't have to worry about that anymore.
I see. Okay. I feel like the Emperor is making just a shit ton of mistakes here, because he's acting on his own. Like, his little minions are all doing what he wants, I'm assuming, but like, he's not. He's like, I'm the smartest and best and smartest and best, and my plans are perfect, and therefore we're gonna follow my plans, and I'm not gonna think about the repercussions of my actions or hear feedback from other people because they're all stupider than me. And so he's
the only person who could give him advice was Malkador, the guy in the robe that you saw.
That's wow. The fact that he isn't already like completely like screwed is he's making bad decisions.
Just don't ask about all the biological children he's had throughout the centuries.
Yeah, this is typical Roman Empire behavior. Like, yeah, I'm gonna make bad decisions because nobody's checking me back into reality about how shitty my decision making is.
Halfway across the galaxy, had an incredibly high probability of seeing the ship get lost and not being able to find its way back out of the Sea of Souls. In addition, the Emperor realized that his armies would need powerful generals because he couldn't be everywhere at once. So thus, he created 20 demigod-like individuals known as the Primarchs, based off of his own DNA, as well as his perpetual companion known as Urda. However, before the Primarch project could be complete, a great tragedy struck, and each of the infant Primarchs was scattered across the galaxy. Now, in recent books, it was revealed that Urda played a major role in this. She learned of the Emperor's plans for her children and the life of endless war that awaited them. She acted against him and set her sons free, choosing to send her children as far away.
All of her children are sons? All of them? There's like, what, 21 of them? And they're all...
Yeah, so they're not really her children. Think test tube babies.
Oh, okay. Well, so he was just like, no, I'm gonna kill all the female children. by not letting them
No,
exist.
No, they actually explain that. Well, they tried to explain. Let me
And
restate this. They tried to explain why females can't be space marines.
They just didn't want to write female characters because they didn't know how to write female characters because they were like, I don't know how to write women.
There's a novel where they have aspirant trials to join the Space Marines, and it's mostly guys, of course. But there's this girl who manages to beat every single boy, and the guy in charge of the aspirant titles pretty much ends up telling her that she would not survive the process to be turned into a Space Marine. That they did not make the process for women. And then, everybody got mad at him for it. And then he was like, no, we can find you another order to go to. And I think she ends up going to a different order where she doesn't become a Space Marine.
But, so it's discrimination. Yeah. Sorry, we didn't invent the science to
well, so the Emperor, like Jester says, the joke is that he didn't want daughters, and so he just made sons.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
By the time, in modern times, when they're making more Space Marines, they don't know how to make them. They do, but the technology can't be expounded on because only the Emperor knew how to do it.
Yeah, so it's what I'm reading here is they came up with an in-universe reason to retcon why they had shoddy writing that was born from probably blind spots in earlier publications.
Yes.
So they're like, oh shit, that was kind of fucked up of us to write. Let's retcon it by admitting that it's sexist. But the problem with that is they still haven't fixed the problem. they're still saying that you can't do it.
It is only the Space Marines can't be females. Custodians can, and then the Sister of Silence are only females. So it's just Space Marines, which is eventually explained later, where the Space Marines are just cannon fodder for the Emperor, and so.
Oh yeah, obviously everyone is cannon fodder for him. Based on his behavior this far, he's not a good person.
No.
I mean, I only want sons because they're stronger. Okay, so you don't understand how combat works. Got it.
Well, to also, not saying to explain it away, but he was born in 4000 BC.
Yeah, that's true. He's literally born in the Roman Empire.
He pretty much lived through the most misogynistic eras and the patriarchy.
Yeah, I have a lot to say about nerd media, but there's a lot of this oh, well, yeah, it's sexist, but the reason is because XYZ, and therefore it's okay. And it's like, no, it's a fantasy universe.
No.
Fucking fix it.
We're not saying it's okay. We're just saying the old writers were sexist as hell.
Yeah, well, that's... I mean, we've read the 80s novels. They're... Oh my god. That shit was crazy. But anyway.
Forgotten Realms scars me. I
hope that no Warhammer people watch this because I'm gonna get crucified.
No, there's a lot of female fans that are coming into Warhammer, and I'm pretty sure they would agree.
I'm gonna get fucking crucified. I just did the digital equivalent, walking into the game store and be like, your favorite thing sucks. And I'm gonna trigger you by talking about feminism. Oh my god.
No. So look, we could consider it like this: all the Space Marines are male and 8 feet tall.
Ew.
You're welcome.
Although, you know what, this guy right here. Wait, hold on. We got a comment here. The whole female thing is a stupid bomb on certain circles in the community. Yeah, I assume so. But it's a dumb thing to be mad about. Well, after a certain point, when you get to be old enough, if you're a woman in any sort of gaming or, nerdy media, you just kind of give up. You get exhausted talking about it because it's a constant uphill battle. So sometimes it's easier to just not say anything, because if you say something, okay, let me start over. So the guy in the center top, he looks interesting, very unhealthy. but he looks interesting. The guy right below him in the hood, I mean, he looks like he's just, it looks like his life is just horrible. I'm assuming all their lives are horrible, but like he looks like he's having a really bad time. And then this guy on the middle far right with the glowing irises or pupils is like, I don't trust him. He seems like he's a little too intelligent. Like there's too much, his facial expression implies that there's something going on inside his head.
I'm pretty sure that's Perturabo. We'll talk about him later.
I don't know.
We're going to talk about the Primarchs later.
I don't know what's going on in his head, but I don't trust it. These fellas, yeah, no. Obviously, their life sucks. And then this guy up here on the top left, he just looks like a Viking berserker type archetype character.
Oh, yeah, he is.
Yeah, that's what he. You know what, his design is working.
Don't insult the Space Wolves. They have a very fervent following.
I'm assuming so. The guy right next to him just looks like a guy I would see at the grocery store in town.
I don't know who that is. I know the guy in the center with the pale skin, black hair, and like bruised eyes.
Yeah.
I would call him a torturer and petty in one word.
Yeah, that's he looks like that kind of person. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to continue on.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Primarchs later.
Onwards.
That'll be fun.
But in other cases, the Imperium would unleash untold devastation across these planets until a surrender was finally issued.
Yeah, kneel
As
or
the Crusade
die.
progressed, the Imperium was ramping up production on ships and new Astartes.
I know this is a headpiece, but it looks like this Marie or whatever this person is right here just has a tiny little dragon head. I kind of wish that was the case, actually. Just be like, yep, that's this huge mecha body and then a tiny little dragon head. That'd be hilarious. I know his real head is like down here somewhere below it, but oh my god, that's funny.
Each of the Primarchs would eventually be located and would be reunited with their own Legion of Space Marines. In total, the Emperor created 20 different...
I'm not a big fan of the chunky mecha aesthetic, but that guy in the center middle has a cool design. Like that's, if it was a little sleeker, it would be amazing.
Are we talking about the guy in silver or the angel?
The angel, the dead center top.
Sanguinius.
Yeah.
He's also a very popular one.
The red on white aesthetic is mixed with like the mecha thing is a pretty cool design. Although is
he's the Primarch of the Blood Angels.
Is he barefoot? Or is
yeah, I think so.
What's the name for those people that like don't wear shoes? He's wearing like full fucking armor and then he's not wearing his shoes. His feet must be very strong.
Now, the Great Crusade was incredibly brutal, but from the Imperium's perspective, everything was going according to plan. That was until treachery began to dig its roots throughout the Space Marine legions.
Always.
Horus Lupercal, the War Master, Primarch of the Luna Wolves, who had been chosen to lead in the Emperor's absence after he returned to Terra, would turn against the Imperium and fold 9 of the 18 Space Marine legions, as well as many sects of the Imperial Guard and Adeptus Mechanicus, in a terrifying civil war against the Emperor. This event would come to be known as the Horus Heresy.
They're still pretty much putting the pieces back together, even 10,000 years later.
This is what I was saying earlier, is the Emperor is making huge calculation errors because the entire system is dependent on him. And he's assuming that his minions are just extensions of his will instead of recognizing that they have their own will and desire that might deviate from his.
So the Erda, the mother, is believed that the reason she sent her sons out into different planets was because she saw the future, and it was that once the Space Marines have conquered everything, that there was no retirement for them.
Yeah.
That they would end up like the Thunder Warriors. Yeah,
that makes sense, because that's what they've been literally trained and raised from birth to do in the scenario where she didn't do that. But yeah, the Emperor is kind of a shit guy. Like, he thinks he's doing the right thing, but the ends don't justify the means because the means prevent the ends from ever happening.
And technically the Necrons were there too, but they were still asleep in their tomb worlds.
So the Horus Heresy is probably the most
I forgot about the Necrons. I forgot about them. I guess that was kind of the point. Like, oh yeah, let's go to sleep for 60k years. So everyone will leave us the fuck alone and we can just skip all the bullshit. I legit forgot about them. Oh my god. That would be quite the mindfuck though, especially if you were like the emperor. You'd be like, la la la, everything's going according to plan, and then you find out there's this whole other fucking prequel series to your life experience. Oh, I recognize this cover here on the right, the Solar War. I remember when that came out because it was in the bookstore, and it had a cool, like the design is, like the composition is actually really cool. It draws the eye very well.
So they're actually releasing more books about the direct aftermath after the Horus Heresy, and it's supposed to be released this year.
Oh,
I
okay.
think. I'm actually kind of excited for it.
Because
unfortunately, what the Black Library does is that they will release a book in print and then not release it in print anymore.
You know, I heard something like that because I bought this Warhammer book and it was really good, and it disappeared off the shelf shortly after, and then it like basically doesn't exist anymore. Like the book is worth a lot more money than I paid for it, and is kind of weird.
When I was in a used bookstore, I found one of the Eldar books in a half price books. It was $6. On Amazon, it's $70.
Oh wow. Well,
yeah, because they do not put these books back in print unless it gets popular again, because now they're re-releasing the Horus Heresy in print.
Well, I don't know.
The audiobooks are also really good.
How that would affect your franchise, because like if you're trying to attract new people to your franchise, that would be quite the barrier to entry. But then again, I know some franchises struggle with like the overwhelming backlog problem where new people don't know what to do or how to start because there's so much media available. So I don't know. I mean, clearly what they're doing is working for them, but I guess they're catering to
the newest thing that came out is the newest battle game is Warhammer Horus Heresy. So it's you playing the battles from like the Civil War. That brought up a whole lot more interest. So now they're reprinting the books to be like, oh, you want to know what the Horus Heresy is about? Here's 54 damn novels for you to read.
That's so many. Yeah, I mean, I do like the tradition of publishing novels to go with your media. I feel like that has died out in a lot of nerdy media. Like D&D used to do it a lot more. They still do it, but it's not as popular as it used to be. I really like it. I wish they would do it more. What do we got here in the chat?
And their minis are beautiful.
Yeah,
so
they're monies for minis for sure.
What had happened is when they had first made the minis, like it was a war game. Like it was just people having fun to play war games, you know, with their buddies. But people wanted to decorate their armies to make them different. And then that's when they started forming the lore to their minis. And it's actually, like, if you read about it, the Space Marine figurines and, like, the power armor or whatever, it was more cost effective to make them all look the same. So that's when they came up with all the different Space Marine legions, so people could decorate them.
It evolved as it grew. Yeah.
And that's also how they came up with the traitor legions. You know, those who had fall to chaos for the Civil War, is so they didn't have to print more minis with different designs. People could just paint them different armor colors.
They're just reusing the assets to make their sequel game. Yeah, more monies. Yeah, money for minis. Dude, minis cost so much money. Oh my gosh.
So the intro kit to get into the game, like the baseline intro kit that has like a good size army to learn the game in whichever faction you like, is $130.
Yeah, that tracks. It's not a cheap hobby. So just go play chess at that point.
Horus Lupercal of the Luna Wolves was chosen for this role. Now he was still a Primarch with his own legion, but for all intents and purposes, he would be the voice of the Emperor. Any decision that Horus made would be as if it came from the Emperor himself. More worthy
Is this the guy that I said that I didn't trust because he looked like he had too much mental activity going on? Is this the same guy?
No.
Oh, okay, it's a different guy.
So this is Lorgar Aurelian.
Mm.
He is the first Primarch to fall to chaos, and he fell to chaos because of Erebus. Now say it with me. Fuck Erebus.
I don't know who that is, but you know, just another bald dude in a universe full of all balding guys. I mean, it's hard to keep track.
This is Lorgar. Lorgar fell to chaos because of Erebus. Erebus was on the same planet that Lorgar ended up found on when he got separated from Earth.
So it's political drama. That's what I'm getting.
And so it's also religious drama because Lorgar's planet that he ended up on was very religious and spiritual. And so when Lorgar was found by the Emperor, Lorgar took all of his disciples from this religious planet with him to turn them into his space marines.
Yeah, that's a problem.
One of them was Erebus. Erebus is literally a psychopath who had followed chaos from even at this point in time. And so he joined the Space Marines chapter and poisoned them from within.
Of course.
And yeah. So Lorgar, we'll discuss what happened to Lorgar in the Primarchs video, but yeah, we're kind of brushing over the Horus Heresy like in really broad strokes.
So basically I predicted
we'll get
it.
into it a little bit more.
I predicted all of this bullshit. That's what I'm hearing.
You did.
Okay,
so
let's keep going.
Of their devotion, the word bearers would inevitably discover the Chaos Gods and set in motion events that would lead to the bloodiest civil war humanity had ever seen. Erebus recommended bringing Horus to the Temple of the Serpent Lodge, a place on Davin, where they could use sorcery to heal him. Now, this was a diabolic place that was linked to the ruinous powers of the Chaos Gods, a fact that was unknown to the Luna Wolves at the time. And it was here in the temple that Horus was put into a dreamlike fugue state. And in this dream, he would be manipulated by the Chaos Gods and the astral spirit of Erebus into turning against the Emperor. He was shown visions of the future, of the galaxy in flames, of a human imperium that worshipped the Emperor as a god. Humanity had descended into a new dark age, and the Emperor didn't care about humanity. He had just been using them this entire time in order to obtain godhood. Now,
see, and this is where the Emperor's methods have come back to shoot him in the foot, because he kind of already behaves that way. So there's a basis there to manipulate on.
The funniest thing about this, and this is where the tragedy part of Warhammer 40k comes in, is the vision that they show Horus.
Does he cause it by acting that way?
Yes, yes.
That's what
pretty much just show.
That's what I thought. Oh shit, my camera. Hold on.
They showed him the future, which he thinks that's what the future is going to be if he doesn't stop it.
Yeah, and he's causing
it. No, what they actually showed him is what he's going to cause.
Yep. Oh, that's classic It's a classic. That's classic. The Emperor kind of did this to himself. I don't really feel bad for him. But yeah, so he joined a cult. That's what happened. He got brainwashed by a cult.
Yep.
Of Magnus, the Primarch of the Thousand Suns Legion, appeared before Horus and tried to prevent what was happening. But unfortunately, he was ultimately unsuccessful, and the corruption had taken root in Horus's heart. When Horus finally awoke,
It's like your relative goes down like some esoteric like conspiracy theory pipeline, and then you're like, hey, you know that's crazy, right? Like that's bullshit. And they're like, no, it's real. You're the enemy. It's literally just family drama and politics in spacesuits. That is quite the chest plate. That is quite the chest plate. He doesn't have anything on his arms or his neck, though.
Oh, Magnus the Red. I love him. He's an idiot, and I love him.
You know, his armor does reflect a certain cognitive inclination towards display and not so much protection.
Well, so he's a psyker and a sorcerer.
What's he wearing plate armor for then? Well, I guess that does make sense because he's not.
He just has to look similar. Also, I'm pretty sure this is when he fell to chaos. I think he looked a little different before he fell to chaos.
I see.
So he only fell to chaos because Daddy didn't pay attention to him enough.
Of course, yes. It's funny, having studied some Roman history, seeing its influence on modern media is always not surprising, but it's always that thing is still happening. All of the Celtic iconography has been like sandwiched in with demons, and so you see all of the evil or the demonic characters have all of these symbols that align with the people, the tribes, and the societies that the Romans were fighting 2,000 years ago.
So Magnus's legion is called the Thousand Sons, and the reason they're called that is because only like 1,000 survived.
Yeah,
because they're all psychers. Well, most of them are psychers.
That's a big drop.
But yeah. So he had, and yeah, he's always red. He was mutated, born mutated. He had red skin. He's also Egyptian. Him and his legion are Egyptian focused.
Huh. Well, it's not showing right now.
They're also really, really cool.
That's cool.
I love the Thousand Sons.
Oh, that's a good pun. Yeah, the name has a double meaning. Okay.
The Astronomicon was quickly converted into a makeshift life support system. The Emperor.
Wait, what's the Astronomicon?
The Astronomicon was that guiding light for when people were faster than light travel, so that they would always have an anchor point to Earth.
Right. I've learned a lot. I forgot some things. Okay,
yeah, so it's also called the Golden Throne.
Right,
so
okay.
As long as the Emperor sits on it, he is the golden light that leads humanity to Terra. It allows them to travel through the warp with a thing they can see. Because you can only travel through the warp with navigators who are special psychers, because you're literally punching a hole through hell.
So basically he's on life support and he can't leave his iron lung, is what you're telling me.
Yes. So also the thing that they missed is that the reason the Emperor went full strength is because Horus killed Sanguinius, the angel boy.
Oh!
And the death of Sanguinius is what made the Emperor realize that Horus couldn't be saved.
Of course, this always happens to me. I'm like, I like that character, and then they die.
Well, and also, at this point, the moment Horus kills Sanguinius is when he wakes up and realizes that, oh no, I'm the bad guy. And he tells the Emperor to kill him. So, so the Emperor kills him, and then the Emperor is too wounded, so he has to sit on the Golden Throne.
This is some peak, like, this is just family drama dressed up as a war RPG.
Yes.
Okay, maybe it's a war RPG dressed up as family drama. I don't know. I'm gonna keep going. Is that just Notre Dame's cathedral? It looks like the Notre Dame Cathedral dressed up in Art Deco and some strange 20th century
heresy. That's the royal capital. That's the royal palace of the Emperor.
Yeah, it definitely looks like one. So this is what I was saying. That he built a whole system that requires him to be functional, and so if something happens to him, the whole system's gonna be in trouble. Oh boy.
So the best part in the 41st millennium, blah, 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 the Emperor has been sitting on the Golden Throne for 10,000 years. Every day, they have to feed 1,000 psychers to the Golden Throne.
Why doesn't he just why does he just tell him, hey, just let me die, I'll be right back? Why doesn't he just die? Like, why?
Because his spirit's kind of stuck. And the body is just stayed alive. And so they feed him psychers. 1,000 human psychers a day are thrown into the fire of the Astronomicon to keep the Emperor. So
what if they just didn't do that? Wouldn't he just come back?
Yes.
So why? Then why? This guy's a piece of shit. just like.
He didn't tell anybody, though.
Oh my god, just like make a prophecy, or like not a prophecy because he banned religion, but just like an edict, like, hey, I have to do a super secret thing that requires no one to come in here for this long. and then I'll be back. And here's what I'll do and say when I'm back to prove that I'm me, and then die. It doesn't make any sense.
I'm pretty sure the lore states that he'll just be reincarnated into a child again. But nobody knows that, because the only person that knew that was Malkador, and he died during the attack on Terra.
Of course,
So
the character
nobody
that I
knows
almost
that.
like would die.
So nobody knows that he would be reborn.
Not even him?
Oh no, he knows, but he can't tell nobody.
Well, why can't he tell anyone?
Because he's dead.
No, he's not. He's still
Well, kind of.
He could just tell him. He doesn't have to tell him that he's immortal. He could just be like, hey, I invented this one-time thing. It'll only work for me because I'm special. And they'll believe him because this is a cult. And I'll come back, and there'll be a resurrection. I'll come back from the dead in 3 days. Just trust me, bro. 3 years, maybe 30 years.
Because I think anybody he would tell would probably just think it was a heretical demon trying to tempt them. Because humanity at this point, because all the Primarchs disappeared or were put into comas, so the only people ruling humanity are short-lived humans. But so they worship him as a god.
He'd come back. He would just come back in like, oh my god, I can't with this nonsense.
It's believable.
All right, I'm gonna keep going.
Humans fucking shit up.
It's stupid.
Lords of Terra were implemented to rule in the Emperor's place, each coming from a different background and having different goals and objectives, rather than the Imperium being ruled by a single individual.
And that's pretty cool. I like the green. Like, green on gold is not super common. So when it shows up...
so the Salamanders are the nicest Space Marine.
You are also forgetting, Nara, that anyone who walks close to him on the throne gets their smooth brain to death, lol. Like, literally or just mentally?
Yes, literally. Like, they lose their brain.
Oh. So is he like a primal?
We'll cover that later.
Do you get tempered when you get too close to him?
We will discuss this at a different time.
Okay, all right.
So, the Salamanders are the nicest Space Marine Legion, like I was saying. They are the ones who are like, protect the women and children and civilians, make sure to protect everybody. People aren't assets to be thrown away, blah, blah, blah. However, they are very, very racist.
Oh, how does that work?
Anyone who's not a human will be purged in holy fire.
That is a bizarre cognitive dissonance for them to have. I mean, stranger things have happened, but that is very weird.
There's a comic where they're like, we must protect everybody. And then somebody's like, oh, look, is that a defenseless Xenos child? And he pulls up a flamethrower and goes, where?
So it's eugenics.
Humanity is the only thing that matters.
Yeah.
So
it's this is all just
a lot of humans have that mentality where they won't call species by their names; they'll just call them Xenos.
Yep, that checks out. It's just tribalism. This whole franchise is just tribal warfare in disguise. What is that? Praying mantis-looking thing.
Oh. That's a Tyrannid. They are devourers. They eat biomass and evolve into giant buggy boys and devour planets.
You know, the design does telegraph that kind of behavior quite well. I forgot about the Necrons again. They're kind of cool. At this point, I'm like, you know what? Let's just wake up and kill all the humans. They can't get their shit together. If they want to. I don't know what they want. But so this whole universe is just a disaster. That's Warhammer 40k lore. Everything is a mess. That's what I got out of this so far. He has a cute little, the logo in the center of this Necron's chest plate. It's like a little bug. It's kind of cute. I know that's not what it's supposed to be, but
Or when it comes to the traitor marines that exist in the Eye of Terror, time flows differently there. And most of those marines were the very same individuals that participated in the Horus Heresy.
this guy needs to get plastic surgery because that can't be healthy for him. He doesn't have any lips. Like his gums must be so atrophied at this point. That can't be good for him.
It's okay. It's chaos. They don't care.
Clearly, because look at the condition that his mouth is in. He has let this go way too long.
Now, one of these Space Marines in particular was named Abaddon, and he had been the first captain of the Luna Wolves and one of the 4 members of Horus's Mournival during.
Every time they say Luna Wolves, I get transported to like a completely different franchise aesthetic in my head because like Luna Wolf inspires like My Little Pony style aesthetics in my imagination. So I'm like watching this 40k video and it's like, yeah, and then the captain of the Luna Wolves, and I'm like, oh, that's like, is that like your persona? Like,
I told you the furries would come back up later.
oh goodness. Such a shock that chaos is a bad place to live. Yeah, I mean, that's true of any universe, I think. You know, when there's no laws.
I mean, I'm gonna say this, but I get the feeling that Mirthmancer here would be sucked in by Zinch's never-ending library.
Yeah, probably. I don't know what that is, but it already sounds great. Especially
So
if it's...
Zinch is the chaos god of like knowledge and sorcery and
yeah, hell yeah, that sounds great. Especially if you get to leave this universe by doing that. Because this one kind of sucks.
Oh, so now you understand why people fall to the chaos god worship.
Well, yeah, but like that one is just like you. That's like a escape pod. You're just like, well, I could just leave. This sounds great. Also, this sword on the right hand side of the screen is incredibly cool. That's pretty cool.
Blackstone fortresses, an ancient alien spaceship made of the same material the Necrons used during the War in Heaven to create their pylons. He hurled it at Cadia like an artificial meteor, the impact being absolutely apocalyptic, and not just for the planet, but for the vast network of Blackstone pylons that had been built under Cadia's surface millions of years ago by the Necrons. You see, Cadia wasn't existing just as a blockade for anything trying to come out of the Eye of Terror, but that system of Blackstone had actually been keeping it from growing. With Cadia destroyed, the Eye began to grow out of control and would eventually spread all the way across the galaxy. This was known as the Cicatrix Melons. Have seen the resurrection of Gilliman, who's come back to lead the Imperium, and is pretty horrified by what he's seeing, as it's been completely dominated by superstition.
Is he like that one character that's like the Oracle of Cassandra, cursed to always know all the future, but no one will believe you? Like kind of character, like, hey guys, this is a shitty idea. Stop! And then no one will listen. That's the energy I'm getting. All this because the Necrons had a cancer star. That this franchise has a lot of war in it. My assessment of Warhammer so far, from having known nothing of Warhammer to this, is clearly this franchise has been around for a while, because you can see the fingerprints of a bunch of retcons and updates and embellishments in the lore itself, similar to like whenever they get to a dead end in their writing, they're like, we gotta blow it up. We gotta blow it up and restart it. And so it manifests in different ways in the writing, which is, I think it's an interesting phenomenon that happens with this. It's modern media, but it's like 40, 30, 20-year-old modern media. And
it's also collective media.
Yeah.
Because there's like 13 different authors just for the Warhammer 40k lore.
Yeah, what I'm curious to see about these series, and I probably won't in my lifetime completely, but is how they evolve over the course of decades as different hands hold the wheel of what directions they go in, and like which franchises will make it out of the 21st century and which ones won't, and the ones that do, how they'll change over time. Kind of like the history of this universe, but my assessment here is that this universe has a lot of potential. Like there's a lot of wiggle room for all sorts of different settings here. It's ultimately up to the culture of the community that it harvests that's going to determine its success. This kind of sounds like a species, no, like a society-wide journey of finding the self, where it's like, oh, the things that you reject or refuse to reckon with become the things that torment you. So, like, for example, if you refuse to admit that things are going to rot and die, then you're going to be denied true life until you it's like the Chaos Gods are kind of like their shadow, and they have to work through that, or the Chaos Gods are just going to keep torturing them until they accept the reality they live in. Well, that was interesting. The Necrons are definitely the thing that stands out to me the most. I think they're the most unique piece of lore that I saw when we were watching this. Curious to see how that will go. I'm sure nothing bad will happen.
I'll say next video we'll do the factions.
Yes, thanks for explaining it to me and sending me videos, because I wouldn't know what videos to look up because I didn't know anything about. I don't really know very much about Warhammer other than what I just watched. So that's cool. Thanks for sending it to me. I don't have a strong opinion yet because I haven't really read any or interacted with any Warhammer media other than like that one book and this. So it's just sort of like, oh, that's interesting right now. I liked the book, but the book had nothing to do with any of this. It was very zoomed in on like one person's experience in a low tech environment. So yeah, the one I read was, the point of view was like a young woman who had to take over from her murdered, well, I'm pretty sure he was murdered, relative. And then she like immediately gets a assassination attempt on her, and she runs like into the basement of the castle, and there's like a horrific creature down there, and it's like, let me out, I'll help you, let me out. And then she's literally like, I either do that or I get murdered or I die down here of starvation. So she does it, and then it turns her evil and she kills everyone. So
yeah, that's chaos possession for you.
Yeah, that's kind of what but I liked it. It was good. So yeah, I'll just have to consume more Warhammer media and see what I think. Yeah.
See, now I can't wait to do the Primarchs. That's what I'm waiting for.
Those do seem like your what do I call them? Your sports team, like mascot type characters.
They're definitely your sports teams. So a lot of people will be like, this is my favorite Space Marine chapter.
If anyone ever watches this VOD, thanks for making it to the end. Feel free to hang out. I'd appreciate your company.